Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for just a random Wednesday. Just a normal day. Nothing special is happening at all. No, of course not, because it's flipping Chelsea Football Club, and there is never a boring day in the life of Chelsea fans. Because you know what? Apparently, Frank Lampard. Yes, you heard me right. Frank Lampard is returning to Chelsea as manager. I mean, only as caretaker manager until the end of the season, but this seems to actually be happening. And me, smart like I am, was giving it a big one on Twitter in the afternoon saying, there's no way Frank Lampard comes back as anything, blah, blah, blah. And everyone should calm down. And now I look like a right clown. How has this happened? I don't understand. I'm also still not sure what I think about it because, some people are talking about this is going to unite the fan base. I think this is going to split the fan base more than Potter ever has. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But yeah, there's a lot to get through. I mean, this is like I say, I did not see, this coming in the slightest. I mean, once Ornstein broke it, I was like, nah, this is, what is this reality? I can't believe that we got here today. I mean, all day, all the news we got is like Luis Enrique prepared a presentation, basically impressed Chelsea a lot. We're like having, a whole tactics sheet prepared and ideas for every player and all sorts of things. But apparently, Nagelsmann is still the favorite. In Germany, they were saying he's happy to take over now. Then in England, they were saying he wants to start in the summer. And all of a sudden, one thing leads to another, and Frank Lampard returns to Chelsea. Alongside potentially John Terry, Ashley Cole, Joe Edwards. What the flip is happening? Have we just jumped into a time machine and turned it back to, what year was that? 2019. Like, how has this happened? I don't understand anything. Guys, I'll start with you. My God, obviously you weren't on the stream after the game yesterday. So reaction to this Frank Lampard situation and after yesterday, did anyone see this coming? Like, what? I'm still baffled.
Yeah, this club does not surprise me anymore. What the hell is going on? I have no idea. Like, what the hell is going on? I did think it was a bit strange that he was at our game yesterday. I thought, maybe he's just come to watch. I was thinking, like, this could be like an option for interim or whatever, and it seems like it's actually happening. It's going to be insane, Personally, I'm obviously dreading going to the Bernabeu with Lampard as our manager, but at the same time, I'm like so gassed to go to a game again. Like, the atmosphere is going to be just insane. Like, yeah, like the online fans, fan base is going to be crazy. Like, Twitter's just going to be agendas, and some people are going to like it, but I know inside that ground, we're definitely going to get a great atmosphere. And I think, it's been a shitty season. Why not? Get the band back together for 10 games. Let's have some fun. We're playing off vibes anyway. We have been for all season. So, why the fuck not? Let's see if we can, get some good wins and some good times. I don't know. Well, it is whatever at this point. It's whatever.
It is whatever at this point, I suppose. I mean, obviously, we all saw him on TV last night, and if you didn't see him on TV during the game, you saw the pictures later on social media. Even that didn't make me think this at all. I will be perfectly honest. I just did not see it coming. Just not in the slightest. Yeah, there is obviously. I'm gonna try to spin it in positive ways. I would have clearly preferred for either Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique to take over right now. I don't really feel like the only acceptable option for this, I find, if they decided Nagelsmann was the guy that they want to go with and he only wants to start in the summer. This is the only way in which I find this acceptable. And then I'm like, okay, Bruno Saltor seemingly didn't want to take over until the end of the season. So they were like, okay, what else can we do? And with Frank Lampard, at least you got someone, he has a bad record by the end at Chelsea and also didn't do particularly well at Everton, but at least he's actually experienced at being a manager. Do you know what I mean? Unlike Bruno Saltor, unlike even say John Terry or whatever, he has never been first team manager. So I guess I can see the logic in that sense. But like I say, I hope it's not just, we're going to take our sweet old time. If they do that, please be quick, because otherwise Liverpool, Klopp might walk and they need a manager. PSG will probably sack their manager because, they might win the league, but look at how awful they are. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone will want managers. So, let's not wait too long and then lose everything. And this is another thing, but Alexander here. We are still in the Champions League. And last time we played in the Champions League under Frank Lampard, well, we knew how that went. Do you know what I mean? Especially that game against Bayern Munich at Stamford Bridge. I was there at that game. I've never seen Reece James get destroyed like this. It's never probably happened again since then. It's crazy. Bobby, I'll start with you. Thank you for being back. I'll come to you. Thank you for being back on again. do you sit in the same camp as Pice, or are you on the opposite side of this now? Like, what the actual F are we doing?
No, I sit in the same camp as Pice. I like Frank Lampard, big fan of his, and he gets a bad rap as a manager, but I feel like people are underrating his performance as a manager. When he first started, it ended poorly, and our structure was awful. But getting top 4 with the young kids that he did, implementing them into the team, I actually thought he did a really good job some of the time. Not all of the time, but
we were top of the league at some point and won 4-0 in Sevilla. So
Yeah, and when he was fired, we were only 6 points off the top 4. It was a bad run of results, and we were playing with no structure. He was using like Conte as the 6 in his 4-3-3 a lot. So our midfield was just everywhere.
Poor Frank, no Billy Gilmore anymore.
Yeah, he did play Billy in his last game against Luton. He started Billy in a double pivot. But I'm kind of excited. Yesterday you asked like what we would want to do if bring someone in before Wolves or just wait till the end of the season. I feel like this is kind of the compromise. If they want to take their time, do their due diligence with Nagelsmann and Enrique, I'm totally cool with that. I want them to get it right. And then, sorry, get a phone call. But yeah, I think Frank is
Let me just mute you for a second so YouTube don't get too angry with me, and then we'll bring you back. The sound is gone. It's all good. You can go again. You muted yourself. That's what happened. Okay, I go to Adash, and I'll let you finish your point in a second. Adash, do you also sit in the same camp as Pice and Bobby do? Because not exactly what I expected, because there is certainly a few people that don't. And if in an ideal world, maybe we'd have a spread out panel, but the 4 people I found that were available to stream on short notice, here we are. So the thoughts are what the thoughts are. So Adash, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm absolutely hyped. I was telling you, I've never been this hyped for a manager that I know is inevitably not going to do that well or not going to perform to the expectations of the fan base. I think at this point, I'm just like excited. Like Pi said, I'm not going to go to any of the games, but I'm just excited to watch Chelsea again. That kind of connection with the team, with the manager, that was kind of lost in the middle with Potter at some points through no fault of his own. But now I'm like, it's really just like an experimental period. I'm looking forward, and whisper it quietly, but revenge game against Dortmund. He's going to get revenge on Tuchel for taking his job, and he's going to get revenge on Bayern for the Champions League game 2 years ago. So whisper it quietly, but we're winning it all.
Sure. I back the hype. Why not? Like I said, didn't expect all of you guys to be fully on board with it. Honestly, when Pice said he was gassed in the group chat, I thought you were bantering, and then I saw your tweet, and I was like, really? Like, not because I necessarily disagree, but just because I didn't really think you would be gassed by it. So, if anything, as you know, I'm always a fan of positivity. So, the more people that are positive about things, the better, in my opinion. But yeah, like I say, I'm still a bit shocked. I spoke to Alex, you're an expert about it, and I was like, Chelsea are mental. And we actually got Lampard back, and he had been out. He hadn't seen the news before. And he was like, what the actual flip is happening? And from his perspective, it's like, well, why did you even sack Potter then? You could have just looked for a replacement for the summer and kept Potter until the summer rather than sacking him now, and I'm now adding partly my thoughts and partly reading into that kind of perspective on the situation into it. In the Champions League, which is the only thing we had left, that wasn't really our problem under Potter. We lost the Dortmund, we played well, should have won. We won the home leg. So, like, do we feel so much more confident for that Real Madrid game with Lampard than we did with Potter? I don't know. I agree Potter still had to be sacked. And, okay, now he has been sacked, and now maybe Nagelsmann wasn't willing to come right now or whatever. Or Enrique. I guess this is what you had to do, but couldn't you have then just kept, how much different would that have been? And I'll start with you on that question, Pice. All good, mate. Is it so much different as if we would have just kept Potter until the end of the season? Would, now that this is happening, just keeping Potter until the end of the season made more sense, arguably? Or because of the hype and the hopeful galvanization of the fans, this is still a positive. Because my doubt is still half of the squad was here when it started to collapse and really started to collapse under Lampard, and it got quite toxic and everything. So I'm not like, this is not a clean slate of just any legend walking in the door and, seeing the season out. Half the squad is still the same as that capitulated under him 2 years ago, right? So, as much as I'm hyped about it being Frank, I'm a little bit concerned about, if that doesn't give us any less chance than just having had Potter for the Madrid games.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one, I have to say. But I think, like you said, galvanization. I've just been really confused with Potter's team, to be honest, because, I didn't think we were obviously the results were terrible and stuff, and the inconsistencies was, but some games I felt like, okay, yeah, they're we're playing all right here. I can see something. Then other games I was just like, what is this? Is he lost the dressing room or something? It was just I don't know. It was very sort of, inconsistent. I just felt like at times certain players weren't really trying that much. So I think the hope for this, if it does happen, looks like it is happening, that, Lampard can try and galvanize these players, get into them a little bit. It's only a short-term basis, and I must stress it has to be a short-term basis. Even if he wins the Champions League, absolutely no way can we employ him.
Bro, you know it. If he wins the Champions League, he's staying. You know it. You know
absolutely
it will happen.
Absolutely
you know it will happen. It's just Robert Di Matteo wasn't supposed to stay. He wasn't supposed to stay.
They need to make sure that whatever happens, whatever before the Real Madrid game, make sure you've got a pre-contract, so there's no possible way that Lampard could stay beyond this. But
it doesn't matter even about a contract. The fans will demand it.
I don't know. I just think I feel like it'll be quite good short term. I think he'll play some young players. I think we'll do all right in the league. I really do. I think it'll be hopefully we can just pull off some results based off just pure energy.
Why did we do it just after Liverpool? Frank against Liverpool was always a good laugh.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I'm quite excited. I can't lie. I mean, I think the home game could be brilliant.
I back the excitement. Why not? Why not? But what you mentioned there, what you highlighted there, I completely agree with it. It must be stressed, and I hope that all fans, and I know some fans are over the moon. I mean, Rory Jennings said he might never have been happier. If Boehly wanted to make sure he got the Yardas on board, this is the best move he could have ever made, let's be honest. And he got them on board. But what needs to be clear to everyone, including the Yardas, no matter what happens, Lampard leaves in the summer. It doesn't matter if he does well. It doesn't matter if we all love each other again. He will go in the summer. It will then be Nagelsmann. Maybe it will be Luis Enrique. Maybe we'll see another shock, and it will be flipping Emma Hayes. Who knows at this point? I thought yesterday, if you would have asked me, before especially the game started and I saw Lampard at the stadium, who would be more likely to be the next Chelsea manager, Lampard or Emma Hayes? I probably would have said Emma Hayes. That's how far away from thinking this would ever happen I was. My days. Adash, I'll come to you. When I go to you with the same question as I just posed to Pice, is it so much better with Lampard than it would have been just not sacking Potter until the end of the season? Rather than in that question, but also adding to that, as much as the owners are maybe learning from their mistake in appointing a manager too quickly, like they potentially did with Potter, even though we kind of learned they were interested and in not direct talks, but kind of thinking about it since way before in the summer anyway. So that wasn't even a quick decision anyway. But as much as they've learned from that, could they have not started this process while Potter was still in charge and figured out, okay, we can't actually get any of these guys right now. So then think about, do we keep Potter until the end of the season or we still try someone else? But we sacked him, figured out we can't get anyone before the summer. I think anyway, that's how I think it goes. We don't have proof for that, I suppose. And then was like, oh shit, we need another manager because Bruno doesn't want to do it. Okay, let's get Lampard. That's what it feels like. So was that any better? Is that any better? But you tell me, Adash, you tell me.
I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from, but I think for me, this is much better because if you start looking for other managers while you have somebody here like Potter, first of all, that just the morale of the entire group and the morale of the manager, it's gonna come out eventually. So there's no way they can keep it fully under wraps. So then if that kind of information comes out, then Potter's just like a lame duck. He's sitting here knowing his job's gone and he doesn't know when, and he doesn't what's the point of him being there? Whereas with Frank, we all know even Rory must know deep down. Actually, I don't know about him, but everyone else knows deep down that he's an interim. He's gone after these 10, 11 games, but this kind of gives us also a sense of purpose, right? Like he can kind of he's
But
not
does it?
building the squad. He's not.
Is there any direct purpose unless Lampard ends up having conversations with whoever the new manager is? Because I still feel like over the next couple of weeks, shall we say, we will have a decision on who the next manager will be. We might not announce it, but I feel like through journalists we might know it. Because I can't imagine that they'll wait too long. Like I say, with the danger of Spurs are looking for a manager still. Like obviously Spurs are not really competition for us, thankfully. But like I say, in the summer you could add PSG, you could add Liverpool, and if these guys decide before the end of the season as well that they want a new manager in the summer, they might start these talks before the summer as well. So we need to get this done soon. So if Lampard has conversations with, like, say, Nagelsmann and like maybe uses certain players more than others, I can see the idea. But if Lampard is just going to do his thing and then a new manager is going to come in the summer and going to do a completely different thing, then other than trying to win the Champions League, I don't really see what the purpose is. And the Real Madrid games are coming soon. So if we lose against them, then there's just nothing but banter, really. It's for nothing but vibes, realistically, after that.
I mean, who says no to good vibes? But I think
it's true. It's true. But you said purpose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's not going to have like full autonomy. No interim manager ever has like 100% full autonomy in terms of what they're doing with the squad. So I think a lot of it will be dictated from people above and from the conversations that they're going to be having with their prospective new managers for the future. But I think just generally in terms of galvanizing the squad, getting them ready, I think he would be much better just to kind of like drill into them. Like we heard all the reports of, and obviously I take this with a grain of salt, but the reports of like people, like the players didn't take Potter seriously. Like he wasn't being aggressive enough with them when they needed to. I think Lampard could definitely do that. Like we heard all the stories with Marcos
but
Alonso,
will they care if they know he's gone in 2 months?
I mean, I would like to think at least some of them would.
Less than 2 months,
who are gonna
which is also crazy to think that the season is over in less than 2 months. My God. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
I feel like the players who are genuinely gonna stay past those 2 months are gonna actually care, at least to a smaller extent. Like
Okay.
at least to, like I feel like.
But they're not going to be
like
scared
Enzo,
of his head, right? Like that. Like why would they?
Fair enough, but I don't know. I just think
I don't think so. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just such an imposing person in person when he's your manager that he will. But I feel like what happened 2 years ago wouldn't have happened if he was. But maybe he learned. I doubt it, judging how it ended at Everton. But maybe he did. Bobby, I'll ask you the same question. Sorry, Adash, if you wanted to add something more to that. If there was anything you wanted to say before your call started, obviously say that too. And otherwise, I'll ask the same question to you. Is it so much different? Might we as well not just have kept Potter until the end of the season? Now, if we're going to get Lampard, like I say, in the Champions League, Potter did good. So and that's the only thing we have left. So is it really going to change much? Is it even going to, could it even make us worse potentially? Like I say, the last games by Lampard in the Champions League were certainly worse than the last ones by Potter.
To be fair, though, that away match against Bayern, like half the team was injured.
That wasn't even that bad, to be fair, especially if that Callum goal stood. Who knows?
Callum had that goal. Yeah, it wasn't too bad, but I think it was. I don't think it's the same because I think the situation becomes so toxic with Potter and so much of the fan base wanting to move on from him and see the ownership admit their mistake and just say, hey, we made a mistake. It's time to cut bait and move forward. So I think that this is the better solution. I'm relatively excited to see what he does. I don't know, is he going to go 4-3-3? We did play with a back three with him a number of times, but I'm going to be curious what he does with the squad. It's also going to be curious what he does with Mason Mount. It's, obviously he has
make him captain. That's what he will do.
There's no secret.
I hope you're all ready for it.
There's no secret he loves him, right? But was ownership telling Potter and his team not to play Mount?
Nah,
what's
I
the
don't think so.
communication going to be
maybe.
like? Yeah, I don't think so either. But it's been strange how Mount hasn't seen a minute in a month.
And he didn't under Bruno either, which is interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I definitely would have brought on Mason over Conor Gallagher yesterday.
For sure, I agree.
So I think that there's a lot of interesting things to see. Like, what is going to be prioritized? Is it going to be new signings? Is it going to be trying to get results? outside, obviously the Champions League is going to be results, but what happens in the league? Is it going to be a full emphasis on the young players and the new signings? So I'm excited to see what happens. I think we really needed a mentality shift with this team, with these players, and with the club overall. It's been a really, really bad season. I hope that John Terry is brought in. I really, really hope so, because we haven't had a motivator since Tuchel, but the way Tuchel's vibes were, like, sometimes he wasn't always a likable motivator. But JT is like a likable motivator who, I would run through a wall for the guy. And I feel like he invokes that in players that played with him, potentially players that will play under him as, an assistant manager or something like that. But I really, really, really feel that John Terry would do a lot. Also just setting a tone that what we have seen for the past 18 months, it's not good enough and it has to stop. So I hope to see JT with Frank too.
Fair enough. That was going to be my next point anyway. So wonderful transition. Cheers, man. Pice, I will ask you on that. Fabrizio said John Terry would be really happy to join, but it will be up to Lampard. Have we heard anything other than that John Terry would be up for it? Because, John Terry might have been up for it last time round and Frank still didn't call him up. Although didn't last time, I can't remember, was John Terry still playing at the beginning? Or was he already assistant at the beginning when Lampard took over at Chelsea as manager? Obviously, I don't know. But, and we will talk about actually.
Was he at Villa?
In a second. Sorry?
I think, was John Terry at Villa at the time? Was he part of that?
He was at Villa, but was he still as a player there? Or was he?
He was an assistant, I think.
He was staff.
I think he was already assistant.
Or he may have just been ending his career.
True, because Lampard, Terry's last playing season, I think, was before Frank took over Derby.
Yeah, he was assistant.
Each other, right?
He was assistant because he was the assistant for the cup final against Derby, like the playoff final, if you remember.
Yeah, no, there you go. Exactly that. Yeah, there you go. But still, last time he didn't certainly leave Villa to join Lampard and his coaching staff. Obviously Lampard, Terry at the time still wanted to be a first team manager, and now he's seemingly changed his mind on that or whatever. But do you see this happening just because John Terry would like it? Do you think Lampard would? Because I always thought the reason why Lampard never tried to bring him back is because Lampard would fear his authority being undermined by Terry. I think that. Not on purpose, but purely out of the respect bases within the club. Paisa, I was going for you, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know, it's difficult. I do think a lot of it is what you said about, like, John Terry was still trying to be a coach at that point. So I think now he's like done. I think he would, he's doing some coaching, I think, with some of our younger guys, under 23s or 19s or whatever. So I think he would definitely join. I think there's been rumours of Ashley Cole as well. Getting the band back together for the end of the season would be quite something. I can't lie. It would be exciting, fuck it. Even if we don't do well, we might as well not do well with the legends in charge, so we all feel a little bit better anyway. So yeah, so that's the way I see it. Like, what more can really go wrong? I don't, unless we get relegated, then fucking hell. But I don't think that should happen.
No, to be fair, we're still missing 11 points to get to 40. Wonder if we get that by the end of the season, 11 more points. But yeah, we'll get to that. As you touched on, Ashley Cole, that I think is more likely purely because obviously he was part of Lampard's coaching staff at Everton. And if I scroll down quickly, the same goes for obviously Joe Edwards. So that I see as quite likely. I'm not quite sure about John Terry, but Pice, again, quickly to you. Do you think it would be good to have John Terry as well? Or like obviously Lampard, Ashley Cole, that makes sense. But adding someone that wasn't previously working together as a set of coaches, do you think that would still be a good idea? Would you want that to happen?
Sorry, was that
yeah, with John Terry coming back as well, or because obviously he wasn't part of the coaching staff from Lampard before, like Cole and Edwards?
I think it'd be great, to be honest. At least one of the assistants, like, damn, like that, like, yeah, there would be, let's just say it this way: players who don't want to, it's going to sound ironic, but actually give it their all, like proper, like actually play for Chelsea, they wouldn't be playing under Terry and Lampard. So, like, I feel like they could, sort some of these players out for the rest of the season. I think, I don't know, I just think the thought of it is exciting. I think if it happens and, we're losing every game, we may be a bit miserable, but I don't know, man. I think think it would be really good. I think it would be really good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Bobby, I'll go to you. Similar thoughts. I mean, you touched on it with John Terry earlier already. Same thoughts with Ashley Cole. You're just happy about might as well bring all of them back if we're going to bring some legends back?
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy with it. Obviously, Lampard's comfortable with having Ashley Cole on his staff. Personally, I would be more excited about John Terry because, like I said before, I feel like this dressing room needs someone that'll kick them in the ass.
Yeah, no, I mean all of them, not just Cole. I mean like as a whole.
Yeah, I would love it. I think it'd be a good idea. I don't see any negatives to it happening. Like obviously, if the results are poor, there's going to be a lot of hate shown their way, but that's just more ignorance. So, yeah, I think it's a really good idea. I would be excited, and I'd be interested to see, the approach. What we see from the players if they play with a bit more passion and fight. I would definitely be excited to see it.
Fair enough. Adash, your end, same thoughts on that potential inclusion of even more legends? Ashley Cole, like I say, more naturally, but also John Terry?
Yeah, for sure. I think just bring the whole band back together. I'm a little bit concerned with bringing back your staff. I don't know like what the situation is. I don't want the next manager to be stuck with staff that he may not want. Unlike in the case of someone like JT, but especially somebody like Joe Edwards, I feel like to bring him back for like 10 games and then isn't he still?
Hold up. Wasn't it Joe Edwards that went to Turkey while Lampard was still in charge at Chelsea?
No.
Who was that?
I thought he went with Lampard to Everton.
No, I thought that as well. But who was it? But wasn't there some coach that we had while Lampard was at Chelsea that left us to go to coach in Turkey? Or maybe was that just was that a thing for Joe Edwards, but then it didn't happen or whatever? Could that be?
Well, I've posted a picture of Joe Edwards if you want to mind jog, but
no. I know what he looked like, but maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm still messing it up in my mind. It doesn't matter, regardless. Sorry, Adash. Go on, my friend.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, hopefully the next manager doesn't get stuck with staff that he doesn't necessarily want.
Yeah.
Who we're bringing in just for the sake of, for Lampard. I mean, if he's bringing everyone back, then bring Drogba. He's gonna be instantly ahead of Aubameyang in the pecking order, which would be absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's I don't see the problem with it. I don't think in 10 games they're gonna make that much of like an impact or imprint on all of those players, but it certainly couldn't hurt.
It certainly couldn't hurt. There you go. Fabrizio Romano has released a little bit more information on this, and Pice just released it saying Chelsea want more time to make sure they get the next appointment right. They can't miss in the next manager. I mean, I do appreciate that. On the one hand, the only thing I'm not sure about, just because we haven't had really enough time for them to get things right all that often yet, that I'm not currently in a position where I'm like, them taking more time makes me believe they will be more likely to make the correct decision. I'm happy that if they prove me wrong, but that's just honestly, I mean, have they proved me anything different so far? So I have to keep that opinion for the time being. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're here right now, subscribe if you haven't already. We're past 16,900, or is it 17,900? I keep forgetting. 16,900, I think. So get us to the 17,000. I'd be massively appreciated. Still the road to 20,000 subscribers. And hit the like as well if you haven't already. That would be brilliant. Obviously, we've touched on it already, I suppose. But do you see my sentiment in that sense, Bobby, where I'm like, is the ownership, is the hierarchy so much more likely to make the correct decision by waiting? Like, if this is genuinely a case of we are waiting to, we are taking more time to make the decision, rather than it is a Nagelsmann, for example, telling us he will only wants to take over in the summer. Like, do you see them as more likely to make the correct call by taking more time?
Yes, I feel as if they need to understand Nagelsmann and Enrique's thoughts on the players that they have. Obviously they're going to have some money where they'll invest on the players those particular managers want, but they've already spent so much money on the players that are here. Whoever comes in is going to have to make it work with a lot of the names that are already here.
True.
So they need to see what their plans are for those particular players. They also I feel like they need to have, multiple meetings with Nagelsmann and Enrique to understand the personality. Are they going to work well with ownership? Are they going to command the respect of the players? are they going to have the persona that a Chelsea manager needs to have the backing of the fan base? Because I think the biggest issue Potter ran into was how quickly the fan base turned on him. And a lot of that had to do with his more like kind of a shy personality and not overly passionate or have a lot of emotion. And I feel like this fan base responds better to managers with emotion. So there's just a lot of things that they need to go through emotion wise. Will the fans like the manager? Is the tactics and what they want to do with the squad make sense with the players that are already here? And then will they fit with the front office? Will it be a good relationship on that front? So I do feel that it shouldn't take longer than a few weeks, honestly. But
I'm just saying this from a perspective that, number one, like I say, they had this kind of with Potter. And like, I feel like in an interview process, the issues that might become an issue, especially from a personal level, will the manager, if he wants the job, even let that out? Do you know what I mean? Those kind of things only come out when things start to go badly, usually. I feel like the real decisive factors in terms of outside of the general things, like you obviously touched on and you're very right about in terms of what does he think about our players, who's the best suited to what we have and stuff like that. So I understand, of course. But like I say, I'm just thinking, yeah. I don't know. I'm just not sure how much more likely it is to be correct in that sense. But I might be one of the only people that sees it that way. Adash, do you see it that way at all? Or are you more on Bobby's point of point of the discussion where you're like, well, if you have the right people in charge of, doing a thorough check and then decision on who to take, you're more likely to get a better outcome than if you rush the decision?
I think I see both. I kind of stand in the middle because it's not just the actual person, the actual manager that you get right, but the timing can also be very different. Like if the season goes even more downhill with a new manager as compared to somebody who comes in at the start of the summer with the preseason, like for example, like a Ten Hag did, that can make a huge difference. So I think not rushing it is just as important. Even if they were to pick the same person before versus after, I think like not rushing it and to actually like do their due diligence and make sure that the players can that the manager rather can like adapt to the situation. I think that's the most important thing. But I think it's like very difficult to tell. Like, and when Fabrizio says they can't miss, I mean we certainly can miss, and it's like regardless of who we get, it's still a possibility that they don't work out, regardless of how many interviews, how many PowerPoint presentations, how many stats you pull up. It's still a possibility that the manager doesn't work out. So at the end, there's always going to be an element of risk.
Absolutely, I do agree. Paisto, similar question. Do you, and then we'll take that into quickly discussing also the latest news in terms of that new permanent manager. Do you see them as being more likely to make the correct decision on the next manager by taking more time?
I can't definitively say yes, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit worried that, someone else might just come in randomly. I'm still scared about having Poch, I can't lie, because I know he would sell himself well in terms of a long-term vision. He's worked with youth players and this and that. So, but, we still haven't contacted him yet. So, would you really, I'm hoping the situation is that, Nagelsmann and Enrique, these are the main two guys, and then they may do some, quick calls over a couple of days to other managers, but they won't, really put them in the top two shortlist. I'm hoping these two, one of these two is going to be the guy, because, again, I don't really think it would make sense to hold all these meetings. I mean, we started contact with Nagelsmann on Sunday apparently, so last Sunday. So I mean, it's to start contact that early, have Enrique fly over, continue to speak to Nagelsmann and Enrique, and you having Lampard hired for this reason to talk to these two managers and of course potentially others, but mainly these two, to then go with someone completely different, that would just be weird. And with the amount of surprises we've had, I'm a little bit scared, but I'm definitely anxious. I just hope that what happens is actually just, this is blown out of proportion a little bit. They've got, it's either one of these two. both of them have indicated they'd rather join in the summer, and they're just going to agree with one of these two. That's what I'm hoping. But it is strange because Enrique, like, there's been a lot of reliable reports saying he would be ready to jump in. I think even Fabrizio said he'd be willing to go. So I'm not really sure why they've gone for a caretaker, but I do agree. Again, with the guys' points in terms of, like, you know, just have multiple interviews, have multiple presentations, talk about ideas, like have an interview just based on like what you can offer in terms of, you know, collaboration. Have another interview, have another talk about what you can offer and what your thoughts on the squad. Like, you drag it out a little bit more, like write notes for each and then come up with an overall conclusion. I think that would be best, rather than just have one interview where you go through every single point, because I don't know, I just feel like it could be a little bit more rushed then. So hopefully it doesn't take too long. Hopefully it's still, you know, like in a week or something after the Real Madrid game, we get an idea, okay, this guy's close to signing for the summer. Because I don't want it to, like, you know, like, because the thing is as well, although we'll have Lampard, the longer this like goes on, like with not knowing the next permanent manager who's going to be, people are just going to talk about it the whole time. So
Exactly.
I just hope we get someone, you know, confirmed.
And we need this sorted for many other reasons as well, like, you know, for potential contract extensions, whether that's Mount, whether that's Kovacic, whether that's God knows who else that we might potentially have those discussions with, but also with potential summer signings, because we'll want summer signings soon. So you'll probably start discussions with their representatives quite early. And how are you going to sell to anyone to join the club if you can't tell them who the manager is going to be? Do you know what I mean? So like there's multiple reasons why this is an important thing. And also in terms of which players to sell, especially if we apparently need to sell so many players before June 30th. We need to find, like, not on all players, like an Aubameyang, in my opinion, and Aspi, because Malagusto is coming in, and a few others that shouldn't even be up for debate. No matter who the manager is, they need to get gone. But there are a few players that are kind of on the edge. Does he stay? Does he go? Like, what will be better type thing? And I would much rather we make those decisions, number one, still early, so it's more beneficial to us in terms of the financial stuff. But I want to make those decisions in conversation with the new manager, so that we're not getting rid of a player that new manager might have wanted to keep. Right, Pies? Like, I assume you agree.
Yeah, I think ideally, the earlier you get something done, the more time the new coach can plan on things, and, you know, the more time he gets to actually watch the games and you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, just give the new coach as much time as they can to plan the squad, watch the games for the remainder of the season. And yeah, I think that'll be good then, because I feel like if, you know, like if he comes in the summer and it's not agreed until like the end of the season, it's like, well, you've not really had that much of a, you know, you've not really had that much of a look in, because you've not been seeing any of the games. You've been focusing on the interview process. So, you know, unless they do something where like they cut off the interview stage and then they like tell the winner or something like that through, you know, the next couple of weeks, I think that could be okay. But I mean, there'll be a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that will be impossible to know with these interviews anyway. Like, they've obviously made this decision for a reason. So I'm being interested to find out a bit more.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. It is true. And before I go to the other guys, could you just quickly, alongside what I've already put on screen, obviously from Fabrizio, which you put out earlier, saying Chelsea spoke to Nagelsmann and Enrique this afternoon. Nagelsmann is still the favourite, but Chelsea want to take that time. That's why they're going for Lampard, only missing green light from the owners. That was from a little bit earlier, of course. But Pies, do you want to quickly fill the people in? Not everyone might have been able to follow along with everything. What has come out throughout the day, obviously with Enrique preparing presentations and all sort of things, apparently having flown to London, flying back out, and obviously with Nagelsmann as well.
Yeah, so I've mainly been on Enrique today, to be fair. Like you said, he flew into London. I don't know whether it was this morning, but there was a video came out that he arrived back in Spain. I think that was about 4:30 UK time or something. So
Sorry to interrupt you. Has there ever been confirmation at all if we asked him to come or if he decided to come at all?
No, there's not been any confirmation of that. But yeah, he definitely arrived back in Spain because Gerard Romero's reporters were there trying to ask him questions. So yeah, I think that was interesting. And again, I think, well, I was saying that's quite a big step, but it's not really if Nagelsmann and whoever else flies over talks. Like if multiple managers, or at least Nagelsmann does, at least, I don't think it's that significant. But I think if he,
or it's like well, Vivell just flew to Germany instead.
Yeah. So, but I think that's good. You know, I mean, Enrique traveling to London is good. Yeah, there's been reports of. Yeah, there's been reports that he's, outlined the detailed presentation and stuff with plans for each player. So there's been that sort of thing coming out today, and yeah, I mean it's been interesting to be fair. Jacob Steinberg said that he understands that Benoit Badiashile is a huge fan of Nagelsmann, and that some sources believe it's his job to lose. Matt Law said the same thing in terms of sources believing it's still his to lose. So yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting. There's been quite a bit come out, but yeah, also Enrique flew in with a representative who's like quite a big agent, I think, with some Spanish footballers. Ivan de la Peña, I think his name is. I think he's Gavi's agent at a few things. So
Gavi on
yeah,
a free, I mean,
it's definitely interesting for sure. But yeah,
there you
just
go.
can't believe this Lampard stuff, to be honest.
No, mate, me neither. But I don't really know what much there is to say about Frank, because obviously we'll be here again on Friday ahead of the Wolves game, and then we'll talk about what will Frank do in the game after.
Bro, can you imagine the atmosphere if he is there for Wolves? Like, oh my days, man.
Yeah,
I think that's
an away game, right? It's an away game, no?
Yeah, and our away fans are arguably probably better than our home fans. So
exactly.
I think the bit I'm most excited for about is the crowd, because I know they're just gonna it's just gonna switch, like Flick's just gonna switch, and the fans are just gonna be all up for it again, and hopefully that will translate on the pitch, even if there's not a huge amount of tactics or whatever. Hopefully we can just go on a bit of a run, build a bit of momentum. That's the hope here. That's what I'm excited about.
That is the hope. And that's why Saturday is important, because I mean, obviously every one-off game is a one-off game, but I think we're more likely to do anything against Madrid. And by do anything against Madrid, who are currently 3-0 up against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey semi-final, brilliant, after losing the first leg 1-0 to Barca. But if we have, we're going to give ourselves a better chance if we go in there with a bit higher confidence after beating Wolves, hopefully. Adas, I'll come to you. In terms of Nagelsmann and Luis Enrique, where do you sit on that one? Because I've very interestingly seen a lot of people, a lot of big accounts, big influencers on Twitter make polls in terms of who do people prefer between Julian Nagelsmann and Luis Enrique. And honestly, I've been quite surprised that on the majority of those polls, that Luis Enrique was quite heavily the favorite. Now, on the polls that split it up to 4 people in the days leading up to it, it was often Nagelsmann that won, but it seemed like as you took the other options away, all the pure, I don't want to just call them glory fans. They're like, oh, but look at the trophies he's won, and that's now why they think he's the best manager. And I understand it. If you're not that, if you don't want to get too deep into the matter and you don't want to get too deep into why things weren't working now, I guess you would just take the simple approach of, well, get the guy that won the most trophies. That's what people think about Zinedine Zidane. I understand it, but also I don't. I don't in a way that I'm like, are you not aware that you haven't really looked into it? You're just saying what is the easiest conclusion to come to. But I'm not saying that goes for all people, but I feel like it must go for a lot, because otherwise I've not like when I've asked people, I've not seen many people give great reasoning for why Enrique is supposedly so much better than Nagelsmann. That I'm missing still. But what is your perspective on what we've heard today? And Enrique obviously turning up with his presentations about the squad, about the players, about his tactics, but also Nagelsmann apparently still being the favorite. What do you think, Adash? And where does your mind sit in terms of who do you prefer?
Yeah, I think Enrique's strengths really lie at face value, like what he's done before, and just his previous success has kind of carried him into this. I would kind of be a little bit more skeptical with Enrique in charge. I think Nagelsmann, you can have a little bit more of a long-term kind of vision, and you can kind of see the club, the players growing along with the manager. Whereas with Enrique, I'm just not too convinced at all. I don't know if it'll translate into the environment at Chelsea, more importantly, but then also even within the kind of standards of the Premier League, coming directly from international football. I don't think that he wouldn't be my first choice. I would go with Julian Nagelsmann. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like a matter of preference. Like, both of them aren't perfect managers. There's no clear-cut decision, which is why I kind of anticipate a little bit more of them taking their time to kind of weigh the pros and cons, because each of them have different strengths and weaknesses. So depending on what the club and what the owners value more, that's who they're going to select in the end. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand at the moment.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you said something very interesting there in terms of it's just a matter of preference, because that's the kind of the best explanation for why people prefer Enrique. I've heard, at least from my logic, because they've said, well, they think we should go to a more one certain style and work on that and perfect it, until we just beat everyone with it type logic, rather than a manager that is super adaptable and adapts all the time, and you never get really, or it takes much longer to get any settled in any sort of system, any sort of formation, any sort of idea. I do think sometimes people slightly overestimate how much certain managers do that, especially because these managers are not stupid and they understand that at the beginning they need to calm that down. That's why Thomas Tuchel ended up being with the 3-4-3 for the most part. It just ended up working so well that he never really started tinkering with it until last preseason, and then he got sacked, obviously. So I don't think many managers would just go in and change the shape every 2 days once they just start a job new. But I at least see that logic. If you want the 4-3-3 that's just set stylistically, I understand that. I just think, and that's one misconception that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that Julian Nagelsmann has had more games at professional club level as manager than Luis Enrique has. Julian Nagelsmann was in his 7th season of being club manager this season as he got sacked by Bayern. So more than 6.5 seasons in charge of a club team. Luis Enrique only has 5 years under his belt. 1 year at Celta Vigo, 1 year at Roma, and 3 years at Barcelona. So, it's not a lot. People say he's more experienced, but he's not. He's just older. And then, he has experience in international management for 3.5 years in total in 2 separate spells. Because obviously in between that, I'm pretty sure it was his daughter that passed away. So he took a break for a while. But let's not forget, international football, they play, 2-3 games per... without a tournament, how many international games is there in a year? 10? Around that, 2 and 5 international breaks in total. So maybe sometimes it's 3 games. So, you get to anywhere between 10 and 15 games, plus potentially a tournament. At Euros 2020, he did well. At the last World Cup, he did not do well. So not a lot of games. I'm just saying, he doesn't have more experience than Julian Nagelsmann. Again, and I tweeted this the other day, I'm not here to point score for one against the other, because I think, Adash said too, in terms of both have their pros, both have their cons. I personally think Enrique has a few more cons or a few more points where I have my doubts than than Nagelsmann does. But it's fair that everyone sees that slightly differently. So to me, it's if it's either one of those two, I'm just going to be intrigued how it goes. I'm not the expert. I'm not Christopher Vivell. I'm not Laurenz Stewart. They are supposed to get it right. I have my opinions, but I'm happy to be proved wrong. Hopefully, not in the bad way, in terms of it is Nagelsmann and it goes badly, and I have to be proved wrong that way. Hopefully, if I have to be proved wrong, then by it being Luis Enrique, and it goes perfectly well. But it is obviously difficult to judge. Bobby, what's your perspective? Enrique turning up with his presentation, did that impress you at all? I saw some people say it seems a bit desperate. Other people said it shows of eagerness and, being willing to take that extra step to make sure he gets the job. How do you see that, and who would be your favorite?
I think it's a positive that he came with at least some homework done and presenting them his thoughts on how he sees the squad. Presuming that's actually what happened. I mean, people are saying, oh, that's BS or whatever. But, if that's what happened, I think that's good that he did his homework. I feel for the long-term project, Nagelsmann is the better option. But where I think Enrique, I feel, has a little bit of an edge is I think his style of play suits our personnel more. But that doesn't mean that Nagelsmann can't adjust. Now, obviously, Nagelsmann tinkers a lot, which sometimes I get frustrated with constantly changing lineups, constantly changing the formations and not having a set style of play. But then you also get frustrated too if, Enrique is pretty rigid in how he wants to play. If it's not working for an extended
That's
period,
the thing. If it works, constantly changing it, we'll be happy with that. If it works, never changing it, we'll be happy with that. If it doesn't, we won't be happy with either, right? It's as simple as that as fans.
I think it's a close call. I think both candidates have more pros than cons, and I wouldn't be disappointed with either direction. But personally, I lean Nagelsmann because I feel with the way this ownership wants to approach owning the club, running the club, and just the fact of how much money has been spent on young players in the past year, I feel like Nagelsmann might be the best option. I think he did a pretty good job at Bayern. Granted, they wanted to let him go. Who knows the exact reasons why, but I think he's a really talented manager, and with more experience, I could see him growing.
I think he will only be better for us than he was at Bayern, purely on the basis of the Bayern experience, I think.
For sure. And it's not like, Graham Potter only managed at Brighton and everything. Well, maybe Nagelsmann doesn't command as much respect as Enrique, but he still was the manager at Bayern. He won the Bundesliga. He obviously has a pretty decent track record, and, the players, hopefully he can, command that respect from the players that some people are concerned about. And I do think that he could. I do think that from what I've seen from him, he could command that respect.
Absolutely. But I think that's something that people always need to realize. Commanding respect when a manager walks in the door. I think if you've done a little something, and let's not forget, I know a lot of this squad have won the Champions League, but still, Julian Nagelsmann has won league titles. How many of this squad have won a league title? 3 players? 4? Do you know what I mean? Like, as much as it was with Bayern Munich and the Bundesliga, I understand that doesn't count as much as something else, but it certainly counts more than being fucking 11th. Do you know what I mean? So let's be serious. But yeah, and then once they see that what he does works, they will not have a problem with that. Okay, go again.
I was gonna say Luis Enrique is a man's man, though. You can't say that about many other managers.
A man's man, and I can't say it about many other managers. Why can't I say that about many other managers?
Oh, never mind.
No, I understand what you're trying to say, but I always think like this. I'm not sure if that's so much better. Excuse me, with our young players to get a manager that is like so harsh and like I demand the respect. I'm not sure if that's exactly going to be. I know Potter maybe did it too far, the opposite way of that. But just because Potter took it too far doesn't mean we need to now go in the opposite direction again, because we've had that before and it's not worked. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But breaking news by David Ornstein. Chelsea have reached an agreement in principle to install Frank Lampard as interim head coach until the end of the season. 44-year-old Chelsea legend to be joined by assistants Ashley Cole, Joe Edwards, Chris Jones. Process for permanent appointment continues because they recently started robbing me of $7.99 a month. I have recently stopped my athletic subscriptions. I can't quite currently open this. I need to start a new one with the offer of like $1 for God knows how long. But so I can't currently open this. Heis, I'm not sure if you will open it. Can I open it? Because I need to quickly disable something, and then I'm not sure if it will screw this StreamYard stream. So I'm a little bit concerned because of that. But yeah, breaking news. Again, you know what? Just super quickly, I'll bring up my tweet from today because, hey, if you take an L, you got to accept that you've took an L. This is what I said today in the afternoon at my time, 3:50. So 10 to 3 in the UK. Let's be serious now. Fabrizio Romano said all along the Chelsea want to hire a new manager as soon as possible. And number one choices are Nagelsmann and Enrique. Both want the job. Both want the job now. Was based in that of Plettigo in Germany last night saying Nagelsmann is happy to take it now. Enrique hasn't had a job since November, so I assumed he would be happy to take it now. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe they didn't want to have the pressure of no one can save this season. So they're like, I'd rather just start in the summer. Maybe it's one of those. And then I said Frank Lampard will not become interim manager. Calm down. Paisa, I'll come to you again. We'll wrap this one up fairly soon anyway. But now that the breaking news is out, that it is basically confirmed, not officially, of course, but confirmed, can only go back to the same question. Who saw this coming? And how do you expect the, like you obviously were talking about the fans and they were going to be up for it and hopefully that will have a positive effect. But what, now that we basically know it's going to be him, do we have any expectations until the end of the season? And if so, what are your/our expectations now?
Be competitive in the Champions League still. I want to see Lampard focus on some of the young players like Mudryk. I want to see him not play players out of position, please. Like, I don't want to see Kante as a lone six.
Joao Felix will be in the wing, maybe Mason Mount.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't have too many expectations, but yeah, just I don't know really.
Yeah,
that's
no,
horrible.
fair enough. Fair enough. It's difficult to judge. Difficult to say. I mean, Santiago says, I'm starting to see some Tuchel to ending it with Lampard is the funniest thing. I mean, it is kind of true. We have to super G by not sure if you're trying to bait me, but I'm just going to call it Q. All right. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. He says, got to give it to Boehly. He sacked an elite manager to hire Potter to then end up bringing the Avengers together so English fans won't kick up a fuss or pick a fuss. Yeah, that is kind of what they did. Is it to some extent smart? Maybe. But only if the next appointment works out. If the next appointment doesn't work out, they will look like even bigger clowns. I do think, I mean, Mark Goldbridge, sorry. He said we look like absolute fools, and we now know that Boehly has absolutely no clue what he's doing. That is maybe quick to judge, but when you deep it, the fact that we had Frank Lampard, sacked him in the middle of the season 2 years ago for Tuchel, then Tuchel takes over, Boehly kicks him out in the space of less than 3 months of taking over the club, hires Potter, buys him for 21 million and his staff from Brighton. Now his staff from Brighton, even after Potter was sacked, didn't want to take over until the end of the season. So we bring Lampard back for a few months because we sacked Potter in the middle of the season and couldn't replace him instantly. When you deep it like that, it doesn't sound good. I will be perfectly honest, but we can only try to remain positive, take the positives of Lampard being here now, and then also hoping that the decision is the right one for the next manager in the summer, and then just that goes well. And in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, we will look back at this time as hilarious rather than embarrassing. So, I guess that's one way of looking at it. Bobby, he's here now, or he's about to be here now. It's basically confirmed. What are your expectations for the rest of the season?
Well, obviously, I would love to see us beat Madrid in the Champions League. That would really put a lot of credit in Frank's bank and just give us some positivity in an otherwise horrendous season. Do I expect us to win? They just went up 4-0 on Barcelona, so it's going to be a tough one.
Brilliant.
In the league, I want to see us score goals again. Like, I'm fine if we lose a game 3-2. I want to see us get some patterns of play down where we're creating frequent chances and then taking those chances, because it's been a really bad 2023 on that front. And these games have been abysmal to watch a lot of the time. So hopefully he, puts the players in positions to succeed, play them where they're supposed to be played, and we can get a good look at what they have. So proper decisions can be made in the summer as far as what to do with the squad for the incoming manager. But, I'm excited. I think it's a good move. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does on Saturday. I do want to say one thing regarding Enrique and Nagelsmann. I just hope whoever is appointed, can we please not have like a fan-wide civil war 2 weeks in?
Yes.
I understand a lot of people want Enrique. Jeepers creepers, it's been unlucky today. I understand that everyone, a lot of people want Enrique and a lot of people want Nagelsmann. But whoever it is, let's just back them and give them some time and see what they can do before we're rushing the judgment or calling for them to be sacked, because that's not helpful to anyone or anything, especially within the first 3 to 6 months of a tenure, in my opinion.
No, there you go. Fair enough. I mean, the super chat here is quite entertaining. Appreciated by Srinath. Sorry if I butchered your name. For the $5.15 Canadian dollars. Game plan: Lampard to Tuchel, to Potter, to Lampard, to Enrique or Nagelsmann. Got it. Make sure to cut out all the dead wood as soon as the new gaffer arrives. See, I would take it even one step further before the new gaffer even arrives. And this, how? This is why you're 4-0 down. Xavi, are you mental? Who? What? That's like Pep playing like, what is it? Fernandinho is at the back, except stupider. Do you know what I mean? Like, who did this recently, playing some random player centre-back that just didn't make any sense? I can't remember who it was. But it's just some mental stuff. Alonso a centre-back. But again, appreciate the super chat. And I mean, yeah, I got it. Let's just hope it works. Let's hope it works. Then we'll look like, well, I'm not sure if we'll quite look like geniuses, but we'll not look stupid at least. So that'll be positive. What are my expectations for the end of the season? Well, I don't know. Because I don't know how Lampard is going to approach this. Because obviously last time we took over, it was a very different situation to right now. We were in we just started a transfer ban. We just lost Eden Hazard. everything was different to right now. He basically filled the squad with loads of young players, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori, Reece James, loads of youngsters. But he obviously thought, or that's what he was hired for, in his opinion, and what he was told, for a project, for a long-term project, build the squad up. Now we have this national break, lost Hazard, let's bring the youth players through and everything. And he was going with that. Remember his first game in charge was 4-0 loss away to Manchester United. Now, these players that he played that day aren't as inexperienced anymore now. I mean, half of them are not here anymore, but, they're also not as inexperienced anymore. But what is he going to do? Is he going to approach this as, I'm just going to get as many good results as I can because I'm caretaker manager and I have no future to build for? Or is he going to still, is he going to play all the young players? Is he going to play all the experienced players on that basis? Let me get as many results as I can. Or is he going to, like I say, how is he going to approach it? Is he going to try, I'm going to try to instill my way of playing football, but he knows that's not going to happen in 7 weeks. So is he just going to do what the players are most used to? And he used a couple of times anyway, a 3-4-3, and try to just win games by motivating them as much as he can? That's the big question to me. How does he approach it? Because I don't even think we can really compare it. This is what he did last time. Because the circumstances are completely different. Thinking you're building a structure, thinking you're building a project, compared to knowing you're going to be in charge for less than 2 months. It changes everything. Pies, first of all, do you agree that it changes everything? Because he might still do similar things to back then, don't get me wrong. But I still think we can't be sure enough of that yet to just assume it, because it's so, the situation is, like I say, just completely different.
I think he'll try and play his way of football, honestly. I think we'll probably go back to maybe a 4-3-3.
But then how can you be happy with that? Because that we'll get murdered at the Bernabeu if we do that.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. I think maybe in the Premier League he'll do that. But I think Bernabeu and stuff,
Okay.
I don't see him being so naive like that, just to go full out attacking.
How scared I'd be if we beat Madrid and we go to play against Tuchel with Lampard in charge.
Yeah, well, I'm scared of playing Benzema, to be honest. So
yeah, but at least that it's Real Madrid. That's not embarrassing. If it's Tuchel who we got rid at the end of the beginning of the season and we got spanked, then that's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, what will be? I guess we can't control anything.
No, maybe we'll just try to sneak an extra little player in and play a 4-4-3.
That's probably why he's got Lampard back. He heard he played 4-3-3 before. Boehly's like, oh, I'm gassed. So no, but
no. But I purposely said 4-4-3.
Yeah, I know that was the whole idea of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have any expectations, to be honest with you, apart from just try and be as competitive as possible. But in terms of what he will do, I think he will try and play his way of football. Mount will almost certainly start every game again now. But I still don't think it means he will sign a new contract, because Fabrizio said that the new manager will decide that with the board.
Yeah.
But it could be.
But that new manager could change things, because once that's decided, I'm sure that new manager will talk to Mason. So
he could. It just depends on who it is and what his ideas are. But yeah, I think we know what to expect, to be honest. The thing is, I hope we don't concede as many goals as we did last time, because I actually think our defense, we've got better players in there now. So I'm hoping, that levels it out a little bit. But I do expect.
One thing's for sure, Cucurella ain't playing another minute this season, I think. I just cannot see Frank Lampard using Cucurella. It just doesn't seem like a Frank Lampard player to me.
Chilwell will play, Mount will play. I think Sterling will play a hell of a lot. Lampard's always been a big fan of Sterling. I think he even told Alex Iwobi to try and model his game on Sterling when he was in charge of Everton. So
does he understand that Iwobi has about half the pace of Sterling? Is he aware of that?
Yeah, I think it was in terms of scoring more goals, but I think I've read something like that. But no, I don't think he'll play Ziyech, to be honest with you. I think we've got better options now.
Don't kill good old Murad's hope here, bro. Not that soon.
No, he's right. He bought him, but I think we've got better players now.
Instead,
and also I feel
Ziyech
like
still
Lampard
can't be bothered to be here, regardless of if it's Lampard or not.
Lampard, I think, will take this job on the agreement that he is collaborating with the new owners, though. So I feel like he'll do not what they want, but I feel like there'll be some sort of certain plans in place for players. So I don't know. Do
you feel like Aubameyang will get a few games now or not?
I think so, yeah, because I don't see him playing Havertz as a lone striker or whatever. I just don't see it. I mean, maybe he
I can't even
might, but
remember if he did that or not because he just had
he
Tammy,
played
didn't he?
he played him up front with Werner a little bit, but um it was more Tammy, of course, weren't it? So
Yeah.
he does
And
usually play
Giroud.
with an active striker, yeah, and Giroud, of course. So I don't know, man. The thing is Lampard's got so many options now that I'm really intrigued to see who he like goes for and see like.
I'm still going to tell you now, we're going to win the Champions League and Lampard is going to take over into next season. Like, I can already
Bro,
see.
that'd be the most stupidest thing of all time. But yeah, no.
Nagelsmann would hate us forever, go to Spurs and purpose there.
Well, also that, but like you can't do this interview process and then just go, oh, by the way, we're keeping Lampard now. Like, do you know how much?
I
Like,
mean, if Lampard theoretically were all of a sudden that good, if we won every Premier League game from now until the end of the season and the Champions League, how could you not give him the job? Do you know what I mean? Like, how could you not?
Still not like a top level manager, so I can't. I can't.
Would that not make him that? Because
no, because
all
Ole
the
went
games
on
at the
like
end
an
of the
unreal
season.
run as well. Like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went on some crazy unbeaten run, and then they hired him.
I mean,
so.
it is true, but
I don't. Just please, like, I hope he like makes that clear as well that he's like, yes, I'm just, in the first press conference, I'm just here just to the end of the season. Like, I'll be petrified if he stays on longer, but I'm happy to see him back, of course.
Yeah, but and maybe it's also in a way good. Like if he can, maybe not win us the Champions League, that's probably setting the goalpost a bit too high. But
by the way,
go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I was just reading that tweet. Joe Edwards and Chris Jones was the like fitness guy. Joe Edwards was one of his assistants. So like, is he going to be the main guy, or is he? I just hope he don't bring Jody Morris back because I don't know.
Jody Morris is manager somewhere himself now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is in like League 2 or whatever, and he's
not just going to leave that job in the middle of
hopefully.
town,
but I'll be interested to see like there's 3 people there, and maybe he brings someone else in. Maybe it is terrible. I don't know. I'm just anxious now to see what happens. Can't believe he's back. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Jody Morris currently sitting 11th in League 2 with Swindon Town, by the way. Won none of his last 5 games. 3 losses, 2 draws. So, sorry, Jody, to bring that one up. Smash the likes, exactly like Melly said. Big up yourself. Hit the like button, ladies and gentlemen. And also, big up to you, Richard. So we fired Lampard just to rehire him like a year and a half later. Yeah. A bit more than 2 years later. It was January 2 years ago. So 2 years and 2 months. 3 months, I guess. Bloody hell. Yeah, nearly. It's crazy. It's just baffling. Adash, do you tell me if I didn't even ask you in terms of what your expectations are? I forgot now. If I didn't answer that as well, if I did, ignore me and then just tell me. What do you expect Lampard to do? Like, do you expect him to do things similarly to last time in terms of how he will play on the pitch? Or do you think he will approach it differently, more cautiously, like more back 3, counter-attacking type thing, especially for the big games? Or do you think he will try to do what he did last time in terms of 4-3-3, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think in terms of what I'm expecting from him, real quick, I think in the Premier League, realistically, not expecting too much, just some good performances to kind of try out, unfreeze some of the players that we got a glimpse of under Tuchel and Potter. Like, I expect him to experiment with players like Chukwuemeka, players like Hall, things like that. I expect him to try them out at least to a smaller extent, and then just generally make sure that we don't sink into a relegation battle, like keep the performances decent, but also get some results. I'm not expecting us to finish top 6 or anything. I think those kind of hopes have slowly been dwindling. I think in terms of the style of play that we're going to see, I think it's going to be like a mixture. I think he's certainly, from his experience, I think we all forget like the experience from the Everton job. Like he's going to carry some of that mentality too with him. Those experiences were very formative for him as a manager, I feel. So he's probably going to be a lot more reserved than what we saw at Chelsea, which was like just full all-out, hardcore attacking Lampard ball. I don't think it's going to be that way. I think it's going to be a little bit more reserved, but I think at the same time, he doesn't have that much to play for, so it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be, like you said, like the 3 at the back sitting behind and waiting for the counter-attack. I don't think it's going to be that way, because he's going to want to, I mean, we're all looking at this from a Chelsea perspective, but from Lampard's perspective, this is also a chance for redemption for him. This is a chance for him to show people that he still has it to a smaller extent, at least, and to kind of propel himself to a new job, possibly in the summer, etc. So I think from that perspective, he's gonna look at it for himself too, a little bit selfishly. Of course, this has a lot of implications for Chelsea, but also for his own future. So I think he's gonna look at it from that perspective and be a little bit more pragmatic than last time.
There you go. No, fair play. It's it's an interesting way of looking at it. But I was, excuse me, I was literally about to say that earlier. That is one thing that, you know, maybe his aim is for this whole thing. And obviously, it isn't exactly like all Chelsea fans turned against him and whatever else. Like, especially in terms of after he was sacked, most Chelsea fans, especially the one that's located more in England, I assume, you know, they still love him however dearly. But maybe he can prove a little bit of a point. Like I say, maybe send the goalpost as high as winning the Champions League is a bit far, but still, there is a little bit of, I don't know, he can do well and he can maybe appease a few minds in terms of, you know, leaving a little bit of a better taste. That's not just slandering him, it's just, you know, stamping him off as this awful manager that we had for a while, but he was a great player. You know, maybe that's possible for him. Bobby, as the last thing, and then I think we're going to wrap it up then. What about you? What do you think he's going to do? How do you think he's going to do it? Like, do you expect the same as last time? Do you expect it differently, more cautiously, more, you know, pessimistic? Is that even the right word, though?
I think it just depends on how he wants to use the players that we have at his disposal. You know, he finished playing the 4-3-3 so much, which we were really open. And I still don't think we have the proper midfielder to be the deep lying player that a 4-3-3 really needs. So, I mean, honestly, I have no idea what he's going to do. I'm excited to see it. You know, he played a back three a lot with us as well. I could see him maybe sticking with that.
Yeah, me too, actually.
It's going to be interesting whether it's going to be more his philosophy and how he wants to utilize the players, or if there is going to be some agreed upon direction from ownership that, like, they're kind of nudging him to say, hey, we want to see these players featured more just because we want to see what we have as far as, you know, the purchases that we made and, you know, what we need to do in the summer. I think most importantly, he needs to do what's best for the club. Outside of the Champions League, it needs to be try and win. But other than that, he needs to find out what the players have, you know, and how to best implement them into a system where the club has a better idea on how to move forward this summer. Because this summer is huge. It's a massive summer. A lot of players need to leave, and the proper decisions need to be made as far as squad building goes. And, you know, these last 10 or so games that are left, this is kind of the dress rehearsal for that. And I think he needs to take that in mind.
Well, hopefully he does. Hopefully he does. But yeah, like Melinda says, smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen. If you're still here, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. On the road to 20,000 subscribers. And like, who was it? Mitch said in the chat, Benzema with back-to-back hat-tricks, we are finished. Obviously, on the weekend, they won, 6-0, 7-0? He scored a hat-trick. Last one being an overhead kick. And today, he scored a hat-trick in a 4-0 win by Real Madrid over Barcelona. Yeah. So that's fun. Barcelona had more possession, more shots, but apparently no big chances. But yeah, Barca, other than Alonso playing a centre-back, which never a good idea. I mean, they didn't play maybe their very best team. No, they didn't play their best team at all. Gavi wasn't a wing, apparently. Sergio Roberto played in midfield. Araujo played a right back. What are they doing? I mean, I guess they want to win the league, but they have such a lead in the league already. I nearly dropped my phone. But hey, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to round this one out. Frank Lampard is back at Chelsea Football Club. Wow. They did not see that coming. Maybe in many years to come. Yeah, by the way, support and love for Lukaku. And we do not respect and condone any sort of racial abuse. And regardless of what I think of him after that interview and everything has happened since then, really, obviously we do not condone that. Regardless of whether he's still our player or not, that has absolutely zero to do with it. But yeah, Frank Lampard is back. Wow. Maybe one day I thought he might come back. Although, like when we got rid of him, but then after his Everton spell, that didn't exactly go well, did it? Let's be honest. Didn't see this coming. But hey, let's hope for the best. We're obviously going to support it. I'm going to support it. Let's back the boys. Let's hope the boys take it on board as well and don't sit there and, like, you know, especially the ones that were here when it collapsed, but it's the Kovacic's, the Thiago Silva's, the Kepa's, like, what will Kepa think? Kepa's back to the bench now. So that's poor him. I feel a bit bad, but hey, we'll see if that even so happens. And there's a few others. So I'm very intrigued how those guys are going to react to this Kai Havertz, I suppose. Hakim Ziyech too. How is it going to go? Pulisic. Can't say. I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued. But yeah, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. Hit that like button. And please do follow my guests on their Twitters. Links down in the description below. And please check out Parker's website, londonsfirst.com. Link is also down in the description. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. Welcome back, Super Frankie Lampard. And we'll see you next time.